Good morning. My name is Richard Wexler, and this is Caring in America, the podcast for caregivers and care recipients. So I get asked a lot, why am I doing this and what are my eventual goals? So as a reminder, I'm doing it because it started in my family. I consider my family kind of average, normal. I'm working, my wife's working, I have a long commute, she works out of the home. We have two small children, one 11, one 7. Then all of a sudden, everything changes. As most families, when you have young children like that, you're very busy in your careers trying to provide income for the family. You're very busy with your children, with their schoolwork, their homework. And as most kids do, they normally have activities outside of school. Our son, that's a lot of sports. Our daughter, that's dance and dance competition. Then all of a sudden, as I've talked about a lot, in the summer of '05, things start changing. We start getting phone calls. Are we aware that our parents are in their 80s? We have all 4 of our parents with us. Certainly we're aware of their age, but in talking with them, looking at them, they're doing pretty darn well for being in their 80s. Then things change. And all of a sudden, they're not doing well. And we start getting those phone calls that they need our help. They need our care. So what became the 4 of us, my wife, myself, the 2 children, becomes 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, as we're caring for them. And as I've talked about a lot, okay, maybe we're a little abnormal in that this lasted, it was all 4 parents, and it lasted 14 years until the last parent passed away at 96 in 2019. So maybe a lot of people don't go through all of that. I get that. But when I go back, I leave what I'm doing a year or 2 after this all starts. I realize I don't know anything about senior care, elder care, what we're supposed to be doing. I'm wondering if other people really understand this better than I do. I leave what I'm doing. I start my company, Points of Life. I start reading everything I can get my hands on. I eventually become a national expert in the subject. I'm encouraged to go out and start speaking to other people. I do that. And I've been doing it for the last 15 plus years. Really trying to get people to understand. I know it's a topic that most of us don't want to talk about, probably don't even think about, which I would say was similar to my wife and myself. You have so many things that are going on in your life, you're not really thinking about older loved ones getting ill, falling, getting hurt, maybe a combination of both, and all of a sudden you having to jump in and provide care. But it's real. And I've been fortunate enough to stand in front of, a few thousand people talking about this. And I've also been fortunate to talk with people online. And the one thing that's, and I'm going to be honest, is frustrating in all the years that I've been doing this, it really hasn't changed a lot. I find that people are very eager to talk about things in their life when they're having a new child, obviously, when they're buying a home, they're buying a car, they're taking a vacation. But trying to get people to talk about this issue was challenging when I started this years ago, and I find that it's still challenging. It's not fun. It's kind of a dark subject. We're talking about care, and we're talking about someone eventually passing. I mean, that's realistic. That's what happens. And then I've talked about we hit bumps in our life, and things happen to the adult children that they're not expecting. Then all of a sudden they wind up potentially having to provide care for their loved ones. It gets really challenging. And part of that challenge is really understanding, okay, what is this all about? What do I, as the adult child, need to understand as my parents, my in-laws, my grandparents age, and then may need care? And I talk about statistics that I've looked at. About 95% of us are going to need care. I'm sorry to have to say it that way, but it's real. I mean, about 5% of us are going to go to sleep one night as we age and not wake up the next morning. But for 95% of us, we may need a few hours of care, a few weeks, a few months, a few years, or potentially longer. So, I mean, guys, it's realistic, and I try to make it realistic. We can do nothing as far as preparing for this and doing this plan that I talk about and getting ready, knowing that at some point our older loved ones are going to need care, and at some point the people around us, our wife, our husband, our partner, whomever it may be, are probably going to need care as well. So what does that mean? Where's care available? I talk a lot about the cost. I mean, unfortunately, care is expensive. And as the years go by, and as we age, and this is common sense, I mean, it's only going to get more expensive. So when I talk to a lot of people now, they don't really understand all the options for care. They don't really understand the cost. Yeah, I get a little frustrated because I want people to understand. I don't want people to have to go through what my wife and myself and our 2 young children went through. It's tough. It's difficult. And I talk about the fact that, yeah, putting a plan together, okay, that's challenging too. And having a conversation with our older loved ones to find out, what do they want? If something were to happen to them, or even just as they age, where do they want to live? And they're probably going to say in their home. Okay, well, is that realistic? Is their home set up for them as they age? Do they have the money to make modifications to their home? Or does it make sense potentially to move out of the home? Okay, where are they going to go? Or is it going to fall on an adult child, or maybe even a grandchild, to be taking care of those older loved ones? It's a lot. It's not fun. You know, over the years, I've tried to make this comical and so on and so forth, and because it's not a fun subject, and I keep saying that over and over again, but it's true, and I think that's why people that sit in my audiences or I talk to them online really don't want to talk about this. They'd rather talk about almost anything else. But planning, I mean, it's important. Guys, so let me ask you a question. Maybe dad's passed, mom's still with us, she gets extremely ill, or she falls. You guys don't live close to where mom is. She's flat on her back in the hospital. You guys have never had this conversation with her, which is common. I get it. So Now you're talking to the doctors. Now you're talking to the nurses. What's mom's prognosis? What's going to happen? How long is she going to be in the hospital? Where does she go after she leaves the hospital, which may be a rehab center, skilled nursing, and then where's she going to go when she's discharged from one of those facilities? I mean, the thought is she's probably just going to go back home, but is that realistic? And is she going to be able to do the things that she was doing for herself before the illness, before the fall, etc.? And now you're in a situation that I talk about a lot in crisis, trying to figure all this out. Tough, guys. I get it. I've been there. I'm trying to do my best to make sure that people aren't in a similar situation to what we found ourselves in. One of the things, and I want to talk about this today, that we're going to start doing even bigger than our podcast, Caring in America, we want to create a national education about aging and about care. Really having a broad set of education. We got to figure out exactly what that's going to be, how that messaging is going to happen, but communicating that messaging to the American public to really try to encourage people to understand we're in a different place right now. We have over 100 million people that are over 50. We have over 150 million people that are over 40. We've never quite been there. Things changed, obviously, with the baby boom generation after World War II. Those oldest boomers are 80. In 2026, that's less than 2 years. So this national education is going to be there to help people understand what we're talking about, what all the resources are, where they can find those resources, and what does all this cost? When, we've talked forever about saving for retirement. I get it. But we need, in addition to saving for retirement, we need to save for the possibility, which is a strong possibility, of care. Outside the home, in the home. What's going to happen if an adult child has to leave their home and their family to go care for mom, dad, grandparents, etc.? How are they going to still make a living? There's a lot of things for us to talk about. There's a lot of material that needs to go into this national education. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about really helping people understand where we are, where we're going, how we can make this easier. I've been saying for a long time, when you have someone you're caring for, it'll never be easy. But if we can get educated, learn as much as we possibly can, it's going to be easier. We're going to have more about this whole subject matter as we move forward. That operative word is education. That's what this is all about, really understanding, gaining that knowledge. So folks, if you want to reach out to me with comments, questions, you're an expert in this field, please reach out to me. That email is eldered2023@gmail.com. ep42.com. And until we speak again, have yourself an awesome day.